Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Background Buzz podcast, episode 3, part 3. And this is our shooting the shit segment, but today we're going to be talking about we're going to be ranking all of the Black Mirror episodes from best to worst. We figure this is a nice time to do it because season 4 is going to be coming out relatively soon. We don't have a release date for that yet, but within like the next week or so. So we figured we'd take this time to go over all of our favorite episodes.
And what better time to talk about depressing episodes than on one of the most happiest months of the year, right? Like, Christmas time. And who knows? Maybe some of these episodes touch upon like a Christmas time theme, right? So,
some of them do. I'm Steve, by the way.
I'm Wilson.
All right. So I said we're going to do it from best to worst, but I think it makes more sense to start from the worst. I mean, we'll go like down to number 1.
Start from the bottom.
Okay. You want to go first, or want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go first.
So I think there's a total of 13 episodes of Black Mirror, and for my number 13, we have the episode 15 Million Merits.
Oh, you did not like this episode, apparently.
It's not that I didn't like it, but as I was going down the list...
Wait, hold on. Let me just read the description. Because, this is going to be a full spoiler-filled episode of Black Mirror, so if you haven't watched any of these episodes... I would strongly recommend you go back, watch the entire series because it's great, but then come back and watch this video. So, 15 million merits. This is the Wikipedia description. In a society where people earn their way exercising to generate power and receive merits as currency, a young man uses his inherited merits to help his girlfriend to audition on a reality talent contest. That's it.
So just because it's 13 doesn't mean I didn't like this episode. After looking at my list, I figured this is 13. And some of the things I liked on it is that, Steve, you star in this episode.
Oh yeah, I look like the guy.
Yeah. so
that's what you like about it?
Yeah, so that's what I like about this episode. That my friend Steve. So please, guys, check out this episode and watch Steve do the performance of a lifetime.
You didn't like it enough to make it at least 12.
And then you moved on to Get Out. So,
to Get Out, that's good.
So what I liked about this episode, and guys, I first of all, the actor was good. The actor was really good. I also have that. For some reason, Soul Cycle took over the world in this episode. Everyone's buzzing. Like, apparently, in this futuristic dystopian universe, treadmills are out, ellipticals out, bicycle wins. And no fatties, apparently. This is a no fatty.
No fatties.
So, what I took out of this episode is that pretty much bros took over the world. Bros. And no fatties are allowed. What I didn't like about the episode, why is it at 13? I think because it's season 1, so I don't remember it that well.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And also, I don't know, it just, for me, it just ranks 13. This is where it falls.
My 13 is going to be Nosedive in season 3.
Okay.
I'll read a description from Wikipedia. In a society where one's social rating with others vastly influence their lives, a woman tries to improve her own rating to afford an ideal apartment by giving an appealing speech at her best friend's wedding. So, I mean, yeah, I will say I'm a big fan of Black Mirror. I like all the episodes, but this is my least favorite one just because I felt like the idea of like people rating each other was very cool, and like I could see how that could end up like fucking people over and people will act fake. But I thought the execution was all off. I didn't find the main character to be likable because she was sort of like in that system too, where she's like feeding off of likes. Mm-hmm. So I didn't find her to be relatable at all. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know. It didn't like speak to me on the same level as some of the other episodes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, it's 13.
So for my number 12, I have Entire History of You. So this is the episode that came in season 1. And pretty much, do you want to read the description, Steve, about what History of You is all about?
And then the Entire History of You, yeah.
The Entire History of You.
So yeah, that's season 1. A couple runs into marital troubles when the husband suspects the wife is cheating on him, proven out through the ubiquitous use of grain implants that record everything a person sees and hears and replays via redos.
So what I liked about this episode, I like the idea of the grain that's behind the ear.
I love that idea.
I like the idea that something's inside you that allows you to go over pretty much record everything that you have and you can go over it.
Yeah. That seems so cool.
That seems so cool, and it's something that people, you can see how that's more relevant to what's going on because people are recording everything. More and more you feel like people are putting their private lives online. I mean, look what we're doing. We're sort of putting ourselves out there. People are just putting themselves out there more.
I do like that episode a lot.
I like this episode. For me, it's one of those episodes where, for some reason, as I look back, it just didn't really stand out for me. Like, it just not as memorable. But I did like the love triangle that was going on.
Yeah, because at the end, he finds out that his wife was cheating on him.
Spoilers.
We said we were going to spoil the episode.
But even more, I think what I did like, and again, the reason why it's on 12 is not because I didn't like it. I just feel like the other ones I like better, just resonated with me better. What I liked about it was, imagine a world where you can see everything, and if you're one of those people that really focuses on little,
you could take that to the nth degree. You could go crazy.
I mean, it'll drive you nuts.
And it drove that guy nuts.
That's exactly what he did. In fact, in the episode, he was replaying like a business meeting that he had.
Yeah.
Some guy made a weird joke. He was going but in the end, he found some truth in it. So it's not to say that your paranoia doesn't lead you to truth, but like you're obsessing over things.
But it doesn't lead you to truth, but it might lead you to truth, but it doesn't lead you to happiness. I feel like that's
a good point.
The moral of that story.
And yeah, pretty much it's sort of, he just ends sort of very sad and
he takes it out. He takes it out. He takes out the implant at the end. So it was like
he carves it out.
He found out his wife cheated on him, but he wasn't happy. He was miserable, and he ended up taking the implant out. So it was like, well, you have the truth, but like, was this worth it?
I think a very cool idea, but it's number 12 for me.
Number 12 for me is Be Right Back. That is a season 2 episode. So when her boyfriend Ash dies in a traffic accident and she finds out she is pregnant with his child, Martha latches onto a technology that simulates Ash's personality from his social media profile. An important message about the difficulty in the replication of life must be learned by Martha. Martha. So while I do like this episode, it's very creepy. I love the idea of, her. She has like her husband that died using, and so they use his social media feed to sort of create a living, breathing, like sort of android version of him. But it like actually looks like the husband, but because it's using his social media presence, it's not quite him, so it's not quite right. And then eventually, like she figures out, like, well, this is not quite my husband, and like it's very unsettling. But so that was cool. But for me, what I like most about Black Mirror are the cool plot twists at the end. And I think that's why I didn't like Nosedive as much, and that's why I don't like the Be Right Back so much, because from the moment these episodes started, I knew exactly where they were going to end. Like, oh, she's going to try to bring her husband back to life. This isn't going to end well. He's not going to be the same, and she's going to be unhappy. Spoiler alert, she brings her husband back to life. It doesn't end well. It's not quite the same. She's unhappy. So I do like the ride, but I feel like from the beginning I knew where it was going.
Good point. So my number 11, I have White Bear.
Why?
Do you remember White Bear?
That's actually my number 11 as well.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me a little bit about White Bear?
Oh yeah, I forget I'm doing this. White Bear, Season 1, a woman wakes up with amnesia and finds herself being haunted down amid numerous bystanders simply recording her action on their mobile phones and refusing to help.
So, why do I have White Bear as 11? I was looking up online. White Bear is critically acclaimed. A lot of people like White Bear, but it didn't resonate with me. I think it's one of those episodes where with a lot of Black Mirror episodes, like the concepts are really cool, but for me, if it's not executed well and it doesn't resonate with me, then it just doesn't become one of my favorites. I thought that the idea of her being punished, for entertainment, and people,
that was cool.
Yeah, like her being punished, like it became this reality show, and in the end, it's one of those episodes where you don't know who she is till the very end.
Like what she did.
What she did. So you're along for the ride with this character,
and you kind of feel bad for her throughout the episode.
You feel bad. You begin to sympathize, and moving forward on the list, you'll see that Black Mirror kind of uses that sort of plot again, where it forces you, and it comes down to that twist, right? Like that Black Mirror twist, where they like to turn things over. I just thought that it just didn't resonate with me. Like, I thought it was a cool episode. I thought it was a cool idea. The execution for me didn't go so well, but it's my number 11.
I would agree. It's my number 11 as well. Same thing. I thought it was a cool idea. It didn't resonate with me. I did think that, I'll spoil the ending twist. It ends out that she was, like, she recorded her boyfriend, like, murder a child. And so, like, I guess it was, like, poetic justice where, like, now people are going to be recording her while she's, like, tormented. And that's cool. But I get that, like, there's, like, weird crimes out there. People do, like, crazy things. But I think I found it like to be so extreme that, like, she recorded her husband murder a child. Like, I was like, you're picking, like, the most extreme case scenario in this situation. So that kind of, like, threw me off. I was like, well, I like Black Mirror episodes when they talk about, issues that have a massive, like, society-wide impact. I feel like most people aren't gonna record someone murder a child. So, like, this is, like, would only affect a small portion of society. So I'm like, this is interesting, but like,
on that note, I just feel like I think what it was trying to say was, like, people's willingness to, how far are they willing to go to be entertained, right?
Yeah.
And criminals are seen as disposable citizens at times where, are their lives just as valuable as ours? Like, once they're deemed like a criminal, once they've done something wrong,
like, really wrong,
can we use them as entertainment, or do they become less than people? Are we okay at laughing at them and making them even go in dangerous situations? Like, and I feel like people do look at criminals like that. So there are some cool ideas in there. Just, for me, just not executed well. And we just go for our 11s.
Yeah.
So my number 10 is top 10.
Top 10. Round up the top 10.
I have National Anthem.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's my 10.
The Killer Bees.
No. National Anthem is actually the very first episode of season 1. It's pretty much your introduction to Black Mirror.
Should I?
So the reason, do you want to give a little description about
to return a kidnapped member of the British royal family, the Prime Minister is instructed to have intercourse with a pig on live television.
#Piggate.
So I'll just go, but yeah, you're right. It's season 1, episode 1, and
it's your introduction to the show.
I love Black Mirror, but I feel like whenever I tell people to watch this show, I always say they skip the first episode because it's fucking weird, and, like, and you might get turned off. But it's worth a watch.
I remember watching this episode and thinking to myself, the whole reason I kept watching the show was by the time I saw it, it already had a reputation of being, like, this cool episode.
Yeah,
this cool series, and it was being compared to Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And I love Twilight Zone. So I was thinking to myself, well, if it's being compared and it's critically acclaimed, then I shouldn't let this first episode sway me a certain way. But why do I place it at 10? Well, it's a strange episode. It had the way it's shot. It has like a glim sort of down mood, and it pretty much involves a politician fucking a pig.
Prime Minister at that.
Prime Minister. And the idea was cool, and I don't know. It's my number 10.
My number 10 is Playtest. I'll read a quick synopsis. A man stranded in England after a banking error offers to participate in a playtest of an augmented reality video game for funds. We're both big video game fans, so this one struck my heart. I love the whole idea that he's in this virtual reality video game. It's like a horror game, and it's like set up to poke fun, set up to like feed off of his actual fears. So like
cool.
He's afraid. His father died of Alzheimer's. He's afraid of that. He's afraid of, like, being stranded in England. He's afraid of spiders. We know that. So they introduced spiders in the game. So I felt like that whole idea was pretty cool. Again, I saw like the plot was coming. I think that's why it's number 10. But I do like this episode a lot.
Pretty cool. Number 9, I have Man on Fire. Or is it Men on Fire?
Man on Fire.
I have Man on Fire.
This is a good one. Season 3.
It is good.
Soldiers attempt to kill a mutant roaches, in quotes, to prevent the rest of society, aided by augmented reality implants.
Yeah. So the reason I put it at number 9 is because
Nah.
For some reason, that idea of like seeing other people as less than like creatures or something, I feel like I've heard that story before where you're either brainwashed or there's propaganda. But this was the interesting thing that Black Mirror did is like how to fuse technology into that right, and how that's going to be implemented in the military and how that might look like. So I thought that was pretty cool. The little reveal at the end actually did, at least for me, catch me by
it caught me by surprise. Yeah.
I'm like, I had no idea. I really thought they were fighting roaches. I thought they were, fighting this evil force. So that's why I placed it at number 9.
Yeah, I love that episode. I'll talk. Okay, I put it higher up on my list. I'll talk about it more later. But you're right. That twist at the end definitely caught me by surprise, which is why I love it so much.
I mean, you might mention this,
yeah,
but sex dreams.
Sex dreams. That's part of it.
Are you gonna mention that?
I'll mention it.
Also,
number 9 for me is Hated in the Nation.
Okay.
That's the Killer Bees.
Yeah.
A series of murders is tied to autonomous drone insects, mechanical replacement for a colony collapse disorder, the social media hashtags. That was like a really bad explanation of this episode. So this episode is about in the future bees are extinct, so this company creates like little android bees that just do their task that they pollinize plants. Then someone hacks into these bees and uses it to kill people. And this episode's pretty long. It's like an hour and a half. It's like a feature-length movie. Yeah. But I liked it because it had like this sort of buddy cop drama feel where it's like those two girls, they're like trying to solve the crime together. And like again, Black Mirror is really good at having a big reveal at the end. I thought the plot twist because I guess how the episode plays out is there's a guy controlling the bees, and he has a website where people will vote on who they think should die next. And I think it feeds into what you were saying, where it's like I think it's like commentary on society. Like people like will shit on people over the internet, but like really feel. Like not feel bad if anything actually happened to them because they're they're hiding behind their computers.
Yeah.
So yeah, people would like vote for who should die next, and in the end, like he was actually the guy was actually like taking note of all that, and then the bees ended up killing everyone that like voted for that. So I thought that was like a cool twist at the end. Definitely not like one of my favorite episodes, but definitely worth a mention.
Yeah, I agree. I like bees. Background buzz.
Buzz.
Yeah. Number 7, I have Nosedive. I like Nosedive. Well, I like it enough for it to be 7. So what's the description for Nosedive?
I read it before.
Oh, you did? I forgot. So I have some notes here. So the reason I like Nosedive for me was I think this idea of rating one another was really cool.
Let's go.
Because when you get into an Uber, right? When you go to Yelp, when you go to Instagram, even YouTube, like you're constantly looking for validation from other people, right? And suddenly you realize your worth is as much as people like you, right? Your likes, how much views you get, and suddenly that becomes you can have monetary gain now. So if we get like millions of viewers, which we will eventually, it'll equal to money, right? But this takes this idea of like, what does it mean? How can you make that more ingrained into our society? So now, when you're trying to look for an apartment, right? People look at your credit score. Right? Yeah. Credit score is such a huge deal in a lot of things, right? Some people are even saying, and I've heard that even when you go to apply for a job, credit scores are being looked at as a judgment of your character. So this idea of like, how are you socially judged? I thought it was cool to see that. And how it affected this particular woman, this character. And you're right, she is not likable. But I felt like she was meant to be not likable because she's immersed in this culture that is so obsessed about it. And remember when she meets that truck driver, that lady? Because she's on her way to the wedding, but like a lot of things happen, she has a hard time getting there. And the only way that she can get to the wedding is by getting into this truck with this driver, and this driver is just basically a woman who gave up on the radio system.
She's off the grid,
just lost it, off the grid.
And she's really nice.
She's really cool, like a really cool person, and it's this contrast of someone who's totally immersed in it, obsessed over it, and someone who's not. I like that. And also, this is one of those episodes that I read online, like received a lot more budget. And you could tell, like, didn't you feel like the
the phones looked like really cool.
So Black Mirror had this feeling of I know it's a British show. It's like a made in over there. And if you look at British shows, and I may be wrong about this, like The Office, it has this sort of grim, kind of dim lighting. It doesn't really pop up. Like if you watch The Office, the American version, it's colorful.
Yeah.
It's popping. The colors are saturated. This one had a saturated look to it. But the reason I liked it was because I think it sort of fit into the narrative where it's fake.
Yeah.
Everything's fake. Like it's so colorful. It's meant to grab your attention, but it's just fake. And I really like that about Nose. I thought it was a cool looking. It was well shot. I thought the acting was really good. I thought the acting was like they stepped it up with the acting. They stepped it up with how it looks. It felt like it had more money. That's why I put it up high on my list because even though the twist at the end wasn't that great, it showed that Black Mirror was moving towards they were moving towards a direction where the quality was improving.
Yeah, I would say the entire season 3 had a bigger budget.
So yeah, I know I went off, but that's my number 7, Nosedive.
Yeah, and I like Nosedive. Well, what was I gonna say? Yeah, no, I was gonna say that I do like how it sort of like brings up the idea of like social validation and also just like judging people based off of what like the whole group thinks. But sometimes that's inaccurate. Like sometimes a lot of people could not like someone, but like that old lady in the episode. Like, well, she was like a perfectly nice person.
Yeah, awesome.
That's why like you can't go off like Twitter or social media said like everyone might be bashing someone, but that person might be really nice. You got to like beat that person for yourself.
And also, this really shows it's a lot of hard work to be liked.
Yeah,
especially on social media. It's really hard. Yeah, and it can drive you nuts.
What number were you at? 7?
7, yeah.
7 for me. It's 15 million merits.
Because you started in it.
Because I started in it, so I gotta put it up there.
Yeah.
So what I gotta say about this episode? I mean, I like that. I like how it's like this dystopian world where it's like hard to sort of hint at like a class system. Because I think that like the people that were like slaving away on the bicycle were like born there, and then there's like the have that were like born that could use the energy, and then like the have not to have to like work for the energy, but like the have will trickle in like a few little carrots, like hey, if you work really hard, like maybe one day you could like come to the other side. And I feel like that's an analogy even with how I think that the world works now, where it's like people are born like rich, they have means, people are born poor. And I feel like the rich do just enough to like throw a carrot where it's like if you work really hard, like you bust your ass, maybe you'll make it, but most likely not. Most you won't make it. And I think that was like a good analogy to I guess like how the world economy works.
Also, it's a place where you will lose your values on the way to the top. Like that guy felt very strongly against the system, and then he realized that at a certain point, the way the system deals with like people who are against it is like they try to buy you out.
Yeah,
and he had a choice to make. Do I either follow with my belief and
stay poor and just
not only stay poor, he was gonna kill himself and possibly be forgotten about because people are so like in that world. But he sold out and he got a taste of the better life because he went to the surface, right? Yeah. He got an apartment outside, and
that's kind of like the real world. Like, do you want to like stay in your current situation or make it big? With that, maybe making it big, maybe also, selling it.
I kind of feel bad putting it so down because there are some cool ideas. Like he became a parody of himself.
Yeah.
Like he became one. He reminds me of guys that, not to make it political, but like maybe someone who's like on O'Reilly, right, or Alex Jones. Like people who realize that they have a certain brand that appeals to people, and suddenly they just like feed into it to the point where they're just putting on a character. Like Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert was a fictional character.
Yeah.
But it was the same idea of like you just create a character. He created a character that fed into a certain way of thinking.
And did well.
Yeah. Number 6, I have Hated in the Nation. I know I put that really high. Hated in the Nation.
It's a good episode. You gotta prove it to me.
But the reason I put it up there is because we are background buzz, and we love bees, and we're putting it out.
That's why you put it up there.
And we love the honeys. So I put it up there because bees are important.
Bees are important.
And this really brought the idea of like what happens in a world where there are no bees, which we really need. And apparently the answer to that is android bees, fake bees.
That might kill people.
But also just to demonstrate, which I think we're sort of feeling in the real world now is the vulnerability of technology.
Yeah.
It's this idea that like we trust technology so much, and it's become so ingrained in our life to the point where people can take advantage of that. And what ways do they take advantage of that? And Black Mirror likes this idea of hackers, almost like the Joker, where they want to show the dark side of humanity, where they go like, humans think they're so good, but I'm going to show you what they really are. And in a way, technology has revealed a lot of that. I mean, people are trolls, people are bullying. I mean, there's some disgusting shit going on.
People are really cruel when they don't have to like be face to face with someone.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. Why are you so cruel with each other on the internet?
It's like technology allows people to tap into that inner side where they want to see destruction. And these Black Mirror likes this idea of where technology really shows us who we really are. And I feel like that's why I like that episode. And I like that hacker. Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Number 6 for me is Men Against Fire. I think we talked about this earlier. It's high up on the list for me because and I think this also relates to 15 Million Merits, like the whole like class society thing. I think I could easily see the military doing something like this in like the distant future, where it's like, well, we want to like kill out this. I love like the whole like so. If you watch House of Cards, who is Doug?
Kevin Spacey.
Doug from House of Cards, Kevin Spacey's assistant. He's in Men Against Fire, and I love how he gives like this speech about like why they're doing what they're doing. He's like, well, these roaches, and you find out at the end are actually like these normal human beings, but you know they're like slightly like more prone to cancer, slightly more prone to some diseases, and they decided that they don't want this race of people existing because they might like commingle with the general population, have kids that you know are also more prone to cancer, and like that's just not good for society. And I could like see how like someone that's sick could like have that in the mind. We're like, okay, these people are like, you know, they're less than perfect. We have to like have a pure society. We have to like to clear them out. But you know, most people aren't going to stomach that. How could we get around that? Well, let's make them like look like fucking monsters with these implants. And I don't know, that struck home for me because I could like easily. Cause it's been done before, where like people try to like exterminate a whole group of people because. Yeah. Perceived imperfection.
Yeah, just
and
like,
propaganda. Yeah, and this is like that with technology involved. And I'm like, this is fucking like this was like kind of scary because like I could see how this could actually happen.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm a big fan of this episode. Still only 6 though. I think that speaks to how good this show is.
Yeah. So number 5, I mean top 5. This is like top 5, and I have Be Right Back. And why do I like Be Right Back? I think you bring up a good point about its predictability, right? Like, I think we've seen that countless times in other like movies or TV shows where you try to bring someone back artificially and they're just not going to be the same.
Not going to be the same.
They're just not going to be the same.
But why did you like it?
I think I liked it because it was so creepy and eerie and haunting. Like that episode, it was a quiet episode. It was very quiet. Like it was just him. And the way it progressed, like the way ultimately the whole show is about grief and loss, right? Like she lost someone, she's grieving, and
it's a really sad show. It's a really sad episode.
It's a sad episode, and also like it's something I've thought a lot about. Where when people died in the past, you're dead, right?
Yeah.
But this is the first time where if you go on the internet, you can watch a video of someone you love. Maybe they put up content like us. Like you can live an eternity online.
And you could like latch on to that.
Yeah, immortality. You can make yourself immortal. And now, I like the idea that what is the grieving process going to look like as technology gets better and better? Like, what if it gets to a point where you could technically create an artificial person, right? You can listen to someone else. Like, what does that do to the grieving process, right? So I liked how it progressed little by little with her. I think at first, like she just heard his voice, right? Like,
yeah.
He
emailed her. Yeah.
He emailed her, and then it progressed to the voice.
Then she has to like buy the upgrade,
and then she bought the upgrade, and it shows how
there's always an upgrade you got to buy.
Always an upgrade, and in a weird way, I mean, I'm imagining there's a company that's making a profit out of people grieving, like people losing people, and I thought it was very hot. I like the last scene where they're at the cliff.
Yeah, it ended really sad because then she keeps him in the attic.
And then I think in the cliff was her moment to see whether he was real or not, right? Because she's like throw yourself off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
Like she's asking she's asking him to follow an order, and I think he obeys.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'll do it. She wants me to do
myself,
it." Yeah,
but that's not true. That's not true. That's not what a person would say.
Yeah.
So I think that's her frustration. She ultimately knows it's not the person that she wants, but it's close enough. And at what point do you say it's close enough? And apparently for her, it was so close enough that she kept them and lets the kids see it.
Which I thought was really creepy.
So creepy. It ends so creepy. When I remember ending that episode and going like, "Ooh, I feel weird." It's one of those episodes where it just sticks with you, and that's why I put it on 5 because it emotionally left something in me.
My episode 5, and you haven't brought this up either, the Waldo moment.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna read a synopsis. This is season 2, I believe. A comedian that uses technology to animate the cartoon bear Waldo in real time to make fun of politicians becomes embroiled in an upcoming election. So I'll be honest with you guys right now.
Wait, that's your 4th?
That's my 5.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'll be honest with you guys right now. When I first saw this episode, I didn't really like it. So much so that I watched half of it, didn't even finish it, kept on watching other episodes. Then I went back, I finished watching it. But not to get too political, but I feel like after Donald Trump gets elected, I feel like this episode gets so much more relevant because it's about this guy just trolling politicians, just trolling everyone. He creates a character, and like it's like obvious that he's full of shit, but like people love it. Like, oh, like, at least he owns up to the fact that he's full of shit. That he's gonna say whatever the fuck comes to his mind. Does that remind you of someone that we all know?
No clue.
No clue. So I don't know. I like I'll say I like Black Mirror episodes when I could draw like a clear analogy to real life, and like for this episode, the analogy is like crystal clear.
Yeah. So that's your number 4?
That's my number 5.
That's your number 5. My number 4 is the Waldo moment. It is the Waldo moment.
What was your number 5?
I told you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So my number 4 is the Waldo moment. This, when I first saw it, was one of my favorite. Not one of my favorite, but I really liked that episode. Mm-hmm. I love the final scene where there's a Waldo like on the screen.
Yeah, everywhere.
Like it. To me, it was so wacky. It was so ridiculous. Like a fucking. I mean, he was a teddy bear, right? Like and he took over the world, and he was like this. Like, he almost looked like Teddy Bear Hitler, like telling people like this like dystopian future ruled by a teddy bear. And you're right, he's a troll. He's a troll, and he. What I loved about this idea was like, and you're right. After Trump, I think this elevated the show so much. But I think Black Mirror did a good job of like looking at the trend. And I think Black Mirror does a good job of realizing that technology really serves the purpose of entertainment, right? And feeding into our like more primitive instincts, right? So like Waldo was perfect in that it's a troll, it's a teddy bear. People love cartoons, people love South Park, people love The Simpsons, and like they give a lot more leeway to cartoons.
Yeah,
like they will allow a cartoon to say some fucked up shit. But if you're a person and say it, then they're not going to let that happen. And also the idea of a teddy bear like arguing against a politician. And
I also think what I also loved about it, and I think that also another analogy to Trump, is that people are always fed up with politicians, like because people are always unsatisfied with their current life, and you could always place blame on the current politician. But then if you come in as like, hey, like an anti-establishment, I'm like anti all politics, like I'm just like totally not what you're used to. You could be like, well, my life. Everyone could be like, hey, like my life isn't what I want it to be. This guy is totally different. Even maybe it'll be different if I vote for him. Like even though he says like crazy shit, like at least it'll be different.
What I also liked about the Waldo moment and why I put it so high on my list number 4 is this idea. It made me think of like. Waldo represents a company brand. Yeah. So technically, Waldo could be like a whole board of people. It could be anyone. A boardroom. It could be anyone. It could be a boardroom. It can be. You can. This idea of, it made me think that corporations are taking over the world. So this idea of like a corporation setting up a politician of their own being a cartoon, it's not so wacky.
No.
I mean, especially after Trump, you're right. Like, what can't be a fucking president at this point? So yeah, I love the Waldo moment. I thought it was really cool.
My number 4 is The Entire History of You.
Wow.
I love. I don't know. For some reason, maybe because I'm a little creeper. I love the idea of an implant in your head where you could record everything you ever see, and you could just always go back.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it would drive me nuts because. Yeah, there are so many moments of my life that I want to go back and like just analyze, like, well, what did I do wrong? Like, what could I have done differently? But part of being an adult and growing up is saying, hey, well, maybe I could have done a million things differently in a million of situations in my life, but I didn't. This is where I am now. I have to move forward.
Yeah.
But that technology allows people to not ever move forward and like just stay in the past.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you analyze the past, you will find things you could do better, and like you may find corrections in your life. But like I said earlier, you won't find happiness. Like this guy gets so paranoid about it's his wife cheating on him, and then he finds out the truth. But at the end, his wife leaves him anyway. He's fucking miserable. So like he has the truth, but at what cost?
I mean, at what cost? He was not happy at any second in that episode.
He was. Yeah, he was always so like antsy and aggressive.
Yeah. Very sad episode. So are we up to top 3?
Top 3.
Okay.
Also, Wilson, I love our top 3. It might be in different orders, but there are 3 episodes we haven't mentioned, and you haven't mentioned it either. So we're gonna have a similar top 3.
So this is my number 3, and these are very important because I feel like these overall, there's a consensus among these.
These are the better episodes. Like these are, and so before we even go to our top 3, I would consider all of these episodes as masterpieces. So for me, it's like comparing like which masterpiece is better than which masterpiece.
Yeah, you mean these top 3?
Yeah, at least in my opinion.
I would say 2 are masterpiece.
It depends on what you have on your top 2.
Okay. This is so I'm gonna begin. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for some notes right now. And all right, so notes. I'm just gonna say 3 is Shut Up and Dance.
Shut Up and Dance, my dude. You don't think 3 is you don't think Shut Up and Dance is a masterpiece?
I think Shut Up and Dance. I mean, compared to the other 2, not a masterpiece, and I'll say why. But I think it's really good. So I have a description right here. So pretty much, Shut Up and Dance is a story of a teenage boy, right? I guess apparently played by Alex Lawther, who is blackmailed into committing bizarre and criminal acts by a mysterious hacker possessing a video of him masturbating, right? I mean, that's how it's presented. And the boy is joined by a middle-aged man whom the same hacker has blackmailed. Pretty much, what Shut Up and Dance, what I liked about it, it was a thrill ride from beginning to end.
It is a thrill ride.
It was a thriller. This whole thing was a thriller. It was so fast-paced. It was action-packed. And it begins so innocently with a teenage boy masturbating, a hacker having access to that.
Like his webcam, he records it masturbating and use that to blackmail.
Using that to blackmail, and using other people to blackmail, and using them.
And so everyone did something embarrassing. So one guy cheated on his wife, one guy did this. He all makes them do tasks.
So all of these men have done something wrong according to this hacker, and then he forces them to do these tasks where it's very dangerous. Like he's forced to rob a bank with this guy, and it's this whole thrill ride where at the end you go like, "What's going on?" Right? And at the end you realize, spoilers. And it's hinted at very beginning because he battles to the death with a guy who is a pedophile, right? Like he was seen.
Even before that, cause this is both our 3, so we can talk about it together. Yeah. Even before that, I feel like something is wrong because you're like, okay, I remember being a teenager. I remember like if someone had a picture of me masturbating, I would not want that to be on the internet. But so I would probably play along. When I rob a bank though, I was like, as soon as he robbed the bank, I was like. Oh, like this guy is either like really, really self-conscious about masturbating, or like there's something off. What's going on? Like,
see, I didn't cast that on because I was thinking in a sense that like when you're a teenager, someone putting up a picture of you masturbating and sharing it with everyone else, it's so extreme. Especially when you're a kid, like that's your whole world.
No, but also when you're a kid, I understand. At least me, I understood like how laws work. I was like, yeah, someone putting up a picture of me masturbating, that would suck. if you rob a bank, you go to prison for 25 years and get fucking ass raped. Like that, I'm not gonna.
I think you're right. At least I can only speak for myself. I didn't catch that on.
Mm. No, I know. I didn't know like the twist. I was like, but I was baffled. I was like, why is he robbing a bank? Like, I was like, this makes no sense. Like, this episode's weird. And then it finally.
And
makes
also,
sense.
when they're battling to death, the guy was like, I was looking at kitty pictures.
Well, that I picked up.
And then he was like, well, so did you or something like that? He implied that our protagonist was looking at it, and the protagonist didn't say anything.
Yeah, but he cried. Just crying.
He cried, and in that moment, I thought, no. Like, no way. Like, it can't be too. It can't be too obvious.
For me, in that moment, that's when it all clicked. I was like, "Oh, that's why he was like willing to rob a bank." Like that. Like it wasn't just he was masturbating; he was masturbating to kids. So that's why he wanted to keep this. Like, so that's why he would go to like these great lengths to keep it secret. But I will jump in and say that what I love about this episode so much, and why I think it's a masterpiece, and I told you before, like even off the podcast, is the entire episode. It's told from the perspective of the kid, so like you kind of like have his back, you relate to him, and instead of that, like everyone else, you think they did more fucked up shit because you think he just got caught masturbating. This guy he robbed the bank with cheated on his wife. Some other guy, like the woman like said some racist thing in email. Like so, people did like some really fucked up shit, and all he did was he was a kid and he was masturbating. Like I don't even think that's morally wrong. Like he.
Speak for yourself. Yeah.
But then at the end, you find out that he was like, well, he's a pedophile. And I think I love Black Mirror in the sense that they could make you relate and sympathize with a character that ends up being a pedophile. And then even once you find out, you're like, well, I still really like this character. I still really related to him. But now that I know this about him, like, do my feelings change or not? Like, and it makes you like sort of deal with them.
Yeah, because he is a
pedophile. But
he's looking at kitty pictures,
and I feel like
that can escalate. Yeah.
That's why I think this episode's a masterpiece because like it makes me judge the morality of being a pedophile. Where I feel like that's a pretty black and white, topic most of the time. But like this opens it up. Well, what if you know the full backstory of this guy? What if you went through this whole journey with him?
I think this episode it made me think of the hacker. Like, who's this guy who thinks he's like the moral police? Like, because he's taken it upon himself to judge people, and not only judge them but punish them as well, right? Like, and what I loved was at the end he puts the troll face. He still fucks people over,
no matter what they do.
Even if they did the task, and that's how the episode ends. He gets a phone call.
It ends so sad. He gets a phone call from his mom. His mom finds out. She's like crying on the phone.
So even though he went through all that, I mean, it's a pretty sad ending.
Yeah, it's like one of the saddest endings.
But you're right. Is it a sad ending? Because in the end, you're right. He is a pedophile.
Yeah, he is a pedophile. Yeah,
he's a pedophile. In the end, this hacker who we hated throughout this episode, who's psychologically torturing these people, is still in a weird way serving some justice that's being unmet.
I'm a big fan of gray area, and that's why I think this is a masterpiece because it's like, well, yeah, he is a pedophile, but I relate. I think this is a masterpiece because it makes you relate to a pedophile, where I feel like in my entire life I was never able to.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. Masterpiece for me, no, but good.
So yeah. That's both our number 3. So you want to do your number 2?
I'll do my number 2. My number 2 is White Christmas.
We have the same top 3.
And can I tell you something though? This took me a while between my number 1 and my number 2.
For me, this is obvious. This is fucking obvious.
No, for me, it took a while because I'm like, well, for you, obvious, but for me, it was really hard because White Christmas has a lot of parts working for it. It's actually broken up into different stories. Yeah. It's broken up into the story.
Should we give a synopsis?
Yeah, go for it.
Are you, all right,
I have it right here.
Yeah. I'll give you my synopsis.
I have a good synopsis.
Give me your synopsis.
Okay, so let's see. All right, so pretty much this episode starts with 2 men, Matt, played by the great John Hamm.
He makes this episode, by the way.
John Hamm, who's a star in Mad Men, and also we saw him in Baby Driver.
B-A-B-Y.
What did you think of his performance in Baby Driver?
Baby.
What did you think?
I love that movie.
You love that movie, but what did you think of his performance?
I thought him, Jamie Foxx, it was all around a great cast. He was definitely a standout.
To me, he was a standout. I thought he did amazing in Baby Driver. But anyway, This episode started with two men, Matt, played by John Hamm, and Joe, played by Rafe Spall, if I'm saying that correctly. They're stationed at a remote outpost in the middle of a snowy wilderness, and as they tell each other that pretty much their lives to pass the time, and those events are depicted on screen, forming three mini stories, ultimately relating to the character's current situation. So yeah, like the description said, it's broken up into three parts, and the first part is John Hamm, his character Matt, being a dating coach.
Yeah, and I thought that was the most interesting.
So cool, so cool. This idea. What I loved about that was he's a date. This is a 22nd century dating coach where he's literally in your ear telling you what to do.
Yeah,
and he gets paid to be on your ear. What a great job!
And he has like a webcam, and he has a bunch of like commentators. Like,
not only does he have commentators, he has a gambling room.
Yeah, like is he gonna get laid today?
He has a gambling ring going on. Is he gonna say that? I thought that was such a cool
because
concept.
If you go on YouTube and you search like, how to like pick up girls, like there are dating coaches out there. I feel like if the technology existed, this would fucking. And I love when Black Mirror like takes something that already exists and says, well, what if technology was a little bit better? And I could definitely see this happening.
You could tell that whoever wrote this episode was in tune with certain YouTube channels about picking up women and this whole idea of this culture of like how people are going online and teaching other guys how to pick up women and doing that in a really cool way. And John Hamm is the perfect guy to play it because he's so
like a bro. Yeah.
Not only is he a bro, because he's not a bro. He's a suave guy who knows how to handle his shit.
I'm surprised you can keep like talking with a clear voice with John Hamm. They get so far down your throat.
I love John Hamm. I want to slice that ham.
You want to come out for a breather?
I want a honey roasted ham for Christmas. But all right, so I'm just gonna end this quick. And then part 2 was him with the cookie. Okay, do you want to talk about part 1?
So part 2 with the cookie. What was part 3? Oh, it was okay. Okay. Yeah. It was a daughter.
Well, part 1. What made part 1? Pretty much part 1. How he fucked up, right? He let this guy to meet a girl who
was nuts, like ends up killing herself and killing him.
So he's implicated in the murder as manslaughter, and he gets in trouble for that. Part 2 is him being a dating coach was a side job.
Yeah. His
real job was what? Do you want to talk about it?
His real job, it's hard to explain, but he sort of provided a service for, like, I'm guessing wealthy people where they take their consciousness and puts it into sort of what I would consider like a Google Home, like an Amazon Echo, where like it controls, like it's like a smart home where it controls your entire home, but you don't have to tell it what to do because it's your consciousness. Like it knows exactly what temperature you want it to be, how you like your toes, like what time you want to wake up. But the bad part is that part of your consciousness still thinks it's like the original person. Yeah. And their whole existence is there in just like this white room controlling like their real selves, like house, for the rest of their lives.
So basically, John Hamm is the cable guy. He comes in, but instead of connecting wires, he breaks the will and soul of your artificial consciousness.
Yeah, because at first they're resistant. They're like, "Well, like I'm not gonna just like
I'm
serve. I'm a real person. I'm not gonna serve this person." But he had like a trick where he could make them just. He could like pass time in their artificial world.
He can fuck with their environment.
Yeah. So he'll like just pass time for like 2-3 weeks where they're just doing nothing in a white room. Yeah. And so they go crazy and like, okay, fine, like, I'll do anything. Just give me something to do.
Yeah. So he's just a cable guy, but he's really good because he's really good at talking. Yeah. And he's really good at psychology, and he breaks the will and spirit, and he does it with this. I think they give an example of like a famous chef or something, like a famous whatever. She's a celebrity, and breaks down this Google Home and sets it up, and it works. He's a great guy.
And then the third part is like
it's the backstory of the other guy who's in the cabin with him and his whole story. Yeah. Which is pretty much, it begins with him being in a relationship with this woman, and you can immediately tell that their relationship is not going well. Like, they're at a dinner party, and I think he's making a fool out of himself.
Pass me a beer.
He's drinking. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, so he's drinking, and he's not having, he's kind of annoying, and
I don't like how you put that beer so close to your dick, but okay.
Well, I was trying to hide it from the viewers, you know.
Okay.
But do you remember part 3 of that episode?
No, I remember. He has like his girlfriend. His girlfriend like cheats on him.
No, you don't realize. You don't know that.
Yeah, he only finds out later. His girlfriend like randomly breaks up with him, but they have
his girlfriend gets pregnant.
Yeah.
And wants an abortion.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, hey, don't get the abortion. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, this is our baby. But she's like, no, I want to have this abortion. Like, I really don't want to have this kid. But he kind of forces her to have this kid, and then she leaves.
Yeah, she leaves.
And what he does is that he follows her. He kind of stalks her. But what makes a technology that is introduced in this episode is the Z block or the I block or something.
Very similar to the entire history of you, where you can like see things, but you can block people now,
and then they can't see you, and you can't see them,
and you can't see their offspring.
You can't see their offspring.
So he thinks that's his kid. So like it's crazy that he can't see his daughter until like
he spends years. He finds out where they're at. He spends years observing them. Eventually, he observes them so much that he realizes that it's a girl because he sees, what she's wearing. And one day, the mom dies. She dies in a train accident. Therefore, the block is gone. Poof. And the reveal happens.
So there's 2 white people. The daughter is Asian. Someone's fucking someone.
Uh-oh.
And then you find out his wife fucked his Asian friend.
Oh, yeah. God damn it.
Should we go on to number 1?
Yeah, I think we went on 1, too. Yeah, holy shit. That was only 2? Wow. White Christmas is great.
It's good.
Guys.
It's good.
No, it's good. It's fucking great. It's like one of the best ones. All right, go. You know what? Let's say our number 1 together.
San Junipero.
It's a masterpiece. To me, San Junipero is a masterpiece.
It's a step above everything else.
To me, it is great. It is a masterpiece. And
I'm gonna read the Wikipedia synopsis.
Okay, go for it.
In a virtual space, the outgoing Kelly becomes friends with a more reserved Yorkie and helps her to come to accept her repressed sexuality. That does not do this justice.
I have a description of my own. Do you want me to read it?
Read it.
Okay. I have San Junipero. This episode is set in 1987 in a beach resort town named San Junipero, where Yorkie, played by Mackenzie Davis, also in Blade Runner, she was really good in Blade Runner, she's a shy woman visiting the town, meets and has sex with the more outgoing Kelly, right? Played by Gugu Mbatha Raw.
It's a wild name.
So the town is revealed to be a simulated reality in which the elderly and deceased can live, and Yorkie is a quadriplegic woman who wishes to be euthanized so she can inhabit it permanently. That kind of rushes into the story. But yeah, pretty much what?
No, but it describes it well.
Yeah, so Kelly, pretty much this is the episode. Kelly marries Yorkie so she can legally authorize this so she can be euthanized, but is reluctant to join her due to Kelly's husband and daughter having died without joining San Junipero, and there's a lot more to that. However, she later decides she's ready to join, and she's uploaded to San Junipero in a very happy ending, and both of them end up happily ever after. But there's so much that goes on in between the episode that makes it a masterpiece.
I think the big thing is that, so Black Mirror, its whole gimmick is that every episode is about technology, which means usually the episodes are set in the future. That's why this one threw me for a loop when I started watching it and it's set in the 70s. I'm like,
yeah.
Something's off here. Like, what? Because it's not revealed immediately that it's a simulation. You're like, well, why is this in the 70s? This is weird. And also in the San Junipero system, it's set in the 70s, but the user could decide to switch decades. They could go to the 80s, the 90s, or the 2000s, and then randomly, like, at the end of a week, okay, now it's 1980, now it's 1990, and they do this thing where they just skip generations, but they don't really tell you what's going on, and like. I had no idea what was coming. So for me, I'm just confused. I'm like, This is really intriguing. Like Yorkie and this girl, they have this relationship. It seems like it's like a time travel thing. What's going on? And then you find out that it's a simulation. They're both old. They're both dying.
Yeah. Same with you. Like I binged Black Mirror, right? So you're watching episode after episode about this sort of future dystopian place where technology is evil.
Yeah.
And then when you play San Junipero, all of a sudden the music, the way it looks, the way people are dressed, suddenly you're transported back in time to, I think it was the 80s, right?
Yeah, the 80s. Or the 70s, something like that.
I think it was the 70s or the 80s. I think you're right. Maybe it was the 70s.
It was the 70s, like where they met, and then they went to the 80s. Like
yeah, but it had a definitely retro feel.
Yeah.
So even the way I feel like it was filmed, like it felt grainy. It was like something was going on. Something was going on with the
I think it's a masterpiece, this episode, because it touches into the idea of an afterlife and like what that means, and like could we create one for ourselves? Because that's the whole point of the San Junipero system.
Yeah.
That was like, well, if you're like old and you're about to die, we'll put you in your consciousness into the system, and once you do die, you can stay here permanently.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also reveals like the dark side of that, where there's like a club in there called the Quagmire, where it's just a whole bunch of people like get giggity, whole bunch of people just getting like really fucked up, like they've been dead like so long that like they're just like rapping to feel like something.
Yeah,
and like it's
you mean Lower East Side?
I mean Lower East Side Manhattan.
Yeah.
The Quagmire of New York.
Quagmire of New York. Okay.
Like these like lost souls just trying to like grasp something to make them feel alive. And I was like, is this how I want to live like for all eternity? Like maybe it's better just better off than being dead.
What I really liked this episode was the fact that it was two women that had the relationship. I thought that was so good because I thought also the two actors did really well.
Yeah.
To the point where I believed that they were into each other. I believe that they loved each other. And you know what? If you put two lesbians in it, it's always gonna add an extra layer to whatever you're doing. Because I read online that originally they wanted a heterosexual couple, but then they switched it at the end, making it into a lesbian couple. And I felt like that helped because it ties in narratively because the whole reason she's quadriplegic is because when she revealed to her family that she is a lesbian, she ran off in a car and got into a car accident, and then hence why she's quadriplegic. My favorite scene from this episode was the argument between them both towards the end of the episode where she's going like, what the fuck do you know?
Yeah, I know.
Like I was married, I had a kid, like you haven't lived. And she's right, the Yorkie comes off as very naive and like very childlike, like idealistic.
So the argument was that Yorkie, for her, staying in San Junipero after dying was like a no-brainer. Like she was a quadriplegic her whole life. In San Junipero, she could walk around. She's young again. She could go to the beach. She was like she couldn't understand why someone wouldn't want to be here. And then the other girl, her partner, was like, well, I was married for 40 years. We had a daughter together. The daughter died in a car accident. Yeah. She didn't get a chance to be in San Junipero. Like I felt like
or her husband made the choice not to.
Yeah, or I felt extreme loss. And then the husband made the decision, was like, well, because our daughter can't be here, I don't want to be here. So for me, the situation isn't as black and white as you make it seem. Like, yeah, this is like fun. I get to like play around, act like I'm still alive, become one of those like lost souls at the Quagmire, like grasping on something that will make me feel something, or I could just like admit that it's over. And because and everyone who I love in life isn't here. My daughter, my husband isn't here. So I do like that argument in a lot of.
I thought that argument and the actress, I haven't seen her. She was so good. She sold it. If it wasn't for how she acted, how those actresses or actors like did it, like it was amazing. Like they really sold that scene.
And I think that scene is important because. Yeah, from a viewer's perspective, you're like, well, this does seem black and white. Like I could live forever, and it's said like, well, when you're in there at any time, you can just like cut it off.
And you can't.
So like, it seems like a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't I want to do this? And like hearing her perspective, like, okay, well, I can understand if like your family's not here, and like, well, maybe for some people, just life is good enough. Like you don't have to extend it. And I feel like it really plays with the idea of immortality in the afterlife. Like maybe it's okay to just be okay with whatever time you're having in this world.
And I like the little touch of the song at the end, Heaven's a Place on Earth. And the ending of watching, like, what heaven looks like, technically, this technological heaven was, like, these little, like, you remember the ending scene, the CGI, like, putting the little tubes into the
It's
wall?
like, imagine, like, a server room.
It's a server room.
Every little, like, light is, like, one person in, like, this.
What a great description.
Like, mansion heaven.
It's basically the Matrix.
I think, long story short, we cannot talk highly enough about this episode. We cannot do it justice.
It won an Emmy, I think. So.
We kind of spoiled it for you, so if you didn't watch it already, we're sorry.
Holy shit!
But we on the onset we said spoilers, and I'll tell you what, we'll put it in the caption spoilers.
Caps. But
So you've been warned.
My final thought on San Junipero, because I really want to say this. It is a great episode from beginning to end. I think the music is so cool. I think the way it looks is so cool. I think the actors did a great job. I thought the story was so cool. It touches on all these issues. But where I want to end it is like, what do you think about the ending? It's a very polarized ending. Like,
because
do you think it's a happy ending or do you think it's a sad ending?
I interpret it as that's why I think it's a masterpiece, because I interpret it as a happy ending. But yeah, some people could be like, well, this is not happy, because eventually there will be those people at the quagmire that are just like grasping to feel something.
Which they will, because you're thinking, how long can that last?
Yeah.
To me, the way I interpret it was it's unsustainable, which eventually they will cut off.
Yeah.
But they're happy for now.
Yeah, and even if it's unsustainable, why not just extend like the fund for like 10, even like for 1-2 more years? Why not?
Yeah. Okay, so
as a wise man once said, "Let the good times roll."
Yes.
This has been the Background Buzz podcast. Let us know your favorite Black Mirror episode. I have a sense that there's going to be some massive disagreements between us and people in the comments, but we'd be more than happy to see your 13 rankings.
I think people are going to hate my list, but I'm open to that. Please. Before
we close, what do you think? What on your list do you think is going to be the most polarizing? Because I think our top 3 is pretty like
3 is solid.
It's solid.
I think Waldo moment is one of those where people either love it or hate it.
That's true.
I think that Nosedive is
the polarizing, because I hated it, but I could see how someone could love it.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I put 15 Million Merits as last. I think people might go like this a little higher, which
I like 15 Million Merits. Yeah, that could be polarizing.
Yeah, that's about. I can't really think of anything else.
Well, since Black Mirror is coming out, the new season is coming out in a few weeks, we should
review each episode.
Yeah, we should do like maybe each episode is a bit much, but we should do like a reaction on the whole season 4.
I don't think a review is too much.
Maybe we will, guys. Be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, be on the lookout. We're definitely gonna do a review. Don't listen to him.
I'm Steve.
I'm Wilson.
Until next time, keep the buzz going. Buzz.